themselves.
Okay.
I love how and we're already live on YouTube, but I love how it always asks me, even though I start the live on YouTube, it's like, do you know that you're going live to YouTube? Do you want to leave this meeting? I did the thing. I did the thing with the button pushing. I am so confused. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters of all ages, welcome to a Syndicate Talks Season 3, Episode 3. My boy, JT Justin Thibeault is in the house from DebtorX, Credom. The guy's a genius when it comes to finance, money, being able to collect on that, etc. And of course, I am your host, Mitch Camage, normally the Savage in Business. Today, I am undisputed, and we're going to be talking finance, money, what happens to business owners when they get in there, etc. I'm going to give Justin a chance to talk in a moment. And of course, from our Syndicate family and our peeps, excuse me 1 second. There we go. We're going to see some of them on his live studio audience. They can ask questions as well. And as you watch this going forward, you need to check out Season 1 and Season 2 of Syndicate Talks previously. We have almost 40 hours of members of Syndicate talking about the stuff that they do best in business, educating other business owners. And that's what we are doing here today. A Syndicate Talks has been started so that the members have a voice. They can share those things that they are best at to help other business owners get better at their job and ultimately make the marketplace, the world a little better, and of course, educate our fellow Syndicate members. So with that, today I've got Justin Thibeault, again, DebtorX, Credom, on here as well. He is an absolute master at what happens with money, the way people collect debt, the way they pay debt, and more importantly, the way they make better financial sense for themselves in here. Justin, I'm going to turn the floor over to you for a moment, make some introductions, talk about the stuff that you're doing. I'm going to be doing some button pushing just up on my other screen here in a second, and then we're going to get right into the talky parts of today. But go ahead, talk about yourself a little bit and fill in our audience why, what, how, and of course, what makes best sense for them to listen to what you got.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I love the opportunity to do this. So, and great job putting these on. I think it's very informative and it works for a lot of people. So yeah, we do everything debt. We do everything from debt restructuring, helping businesses and consumers that are struggling to deal with to deal with that and deal with the creditors. We've built this platform called Credom that ultimately allows you to do it yourself, utilizing 11, 12 years of experience, put it into the palm of your hand, takes the guessing game out of what to do. And then on the other side, we've got another platform that if you're a business owner not getting paid, we've got a platform that matches you with the organizations that have the highest probability of collection, whether that's a law firm, a paralegal, a debt buyer, factoring companies, or third-party collection agencies. The reality is not all collection agencies are built the same, and not all people that are handling your paper are necessarily the best for you. So we've gone across Canada and the US, and we're bringing on the best of the best. They go through a really detailed weighted scoring model to put your business in front of the best ones. So that's what we're currently doing.
Fantastic. So Justin, that is a great segue into what we're going to do today. We're going to kind of pound into really quickly. You need to understand that including our live studio audience. So there's my brothers from other mothers, Paul Falkowski, Matt Hewson. We got Scott and Danny, of course, from the SOS Empire joining us today. For any of the other members of Syndicate that are here right now, you're welcome to join in the studio audience or watch, of course, on YouTube. For those people that are coming at us later, Season 3 of a Syndicate Talks, once more, is to bring the smartest, innovative, great minds on their industry to build free education for business owners. You can't get smarter than free. You can't get better than free. And they're giving of their time and their expertise to help you get just a little bit at your job. With that, Justin, debt, money, how much, how often? In other words, we have had a historic stretch, if you will, a historic look on debt. But now that we are here, and this is Season 3, Episode 3, right in the middle of a pandemic, that has shifted how much over how much time people have. So what are you seeing in our marketplace, just in our local and regional, and of course, worldwide perspective, how much debt and how much financial struggle are business owners really getting themselves into? And what are you seeing as a change in the way people are dealing with debt and what's happening in our marketplace?
Well, I think CFIB did they released something on small businesses saying that they've incurred almost $300,000 in debt through the pandemic for small businesses, which is crazy. Locally, what I'm seeing, I had a client come through the doors last week, $138,000 in unsecured debt, and then another $200,000 in secured debt. Been in the same industry for 40 years. Started the company with his dad, sat across from me and broke down. Feels like he's failing. He's a failure. He's letting his dad down, bringing a lot of the personal feelings into the equation. But the reality is you can't plan for the governments to shut everything down. You can't plan for all of this sort of stuff to happen. But pre-pandemic, the only debt he had was his secured debt. And that was the security that he needed to operate his business. So over 18 months, he racked up $135,000 in unsecured debt, just trying to stay afloat. Open and closing, the government's lockdowns, they've put him into a position where he's had to take a job at $35 an hour, doing the same line of work, just working for another company. He wasn't able to scale, and that's where he's at. It's funny, just before this, I got an email introducing me to another business owner. Same thing. They need to either start renegotiating with their creditors now, or they're going to go bankrupt. I think now with the government's new guidelines on their subsidies and helping businesses out, we're going to start seeing a lot more of the businesses going under. People were relying on the employee subsidy. That was a huge subsidy for a lot of businesses, and that's the reason they were keeping people employed. And now that's going to be gone. I think that we're going to start seeing a lot more businesses having to make those tough decisions. People are going to stop paying their creditors, and I think we're going to start seeing a lot more bankruptcies and a lot more people just saying forget it and walk away from it.
Okay, now we're right into the theme. We're right into the heart and the meat of what it is that we're watching in this environment, in this marketplace right now. So what is the number one thing people should always bear in mind well in advance, right? We're not very proactive. We tend to be very reactive, or we hide with our head in the sand a little bit. But if you had to educate somebody right now that's either been lucky, good, or has been blessed, in other words, 20 months into the pandemic, they've been able to not just keep their head above water, but stay balanced, stay current, not have too many financial and money woes. We can't say that about an awful lot of people right now in the world out there. So what's something that they've got to be diligent about, of course, but what's something that they've got to make sure that they are creatively, intelligently, and strategically paying best attention to so that they don't get caught? What's the thing that you should do before you find yourself getting in there?
Hit your numbers, be proactive. If you start seeing your clients that were typically, if you're in net 15, if you're in net 30 and you're seeing those getting pushed to net 30, net 45, and you're seeing those delays, you should probably implement some security measures internally. Make sure that you're following up on your invoices. Make sure that, those sorts of things are happening, because again, all it's going to take in a lot of cases is one, possibly two larger clients not to pay you, or to delay 6 months, 9 months, to try and drag it out, and all of a sudden you can find yourself in the same space, $135,000 upside down. Are you making payroll? I was talking with one of my bank contacts. A gentleman went in, makes great money, has $1 million in receivables, looking for a $250,000 extension on his line of credit so he could make payroll. Well, all those receivables are over 90 days. They're not extending anything. So, if he would have been proactive in trying to chase down the money, he wouldn't be sitting here going, what do I do? Right? I need that money to hit payroll. So anybody that's in business, make sure that you're all over that. Again, maybe try shortening your payment terms. Instead of it being a net 15, go to net 7, right? That extra 8 days, what does that do to your overall cash flow in and out of your business on a regular basis? That can be a make or break it. And follow up. One of the worst things is when you send an invoice from QBO and it says it's been read. Great. You come up to day 15 to get paid, you haven't been paid. Well, chances are that invoice is sitting under somebody's coffee cup or their greasy leftover sandwich from Subway. waiting for somebody to sign off on it or waiting for it to go through the system. So make sure, we all have these fancy little things, pick them up and make a phone call. That's another element of it. It's not just emails these days. We can hide behind emails. We can hide behind text messages. You can hide behind technology. You've got phones, emails. It's an interpretation. A text message is an interpretation. Yeah, you can put capital letters and exclamation marks, but the tone of your voice can carry things a lot more. And then not only that, be open. If you know that they're struggling and they say, look, I'm struggling, you don't have to be a hard ass. You can, but be open for communication and negotiation. Can this guy give you, they owe you 10 grand, then can they give you, $2,500 over the next 4 months if they needed to? Does that help them with their cash flow? Does that help them keep their doors open? And then what does that ultimately do for your relationship overall? So just to kind of touch on it is be open, for that side, but at the same time, be proactive. Cash is king in business.
Mm-hmm. Now, with that being cash is king, is cash number one?
Me?
Is cash number one? That's an evident question, but is cash number one?
Depends on who you ask. I mean, without cash, you can't operate your business. But I want to say your human capital, your people have to be number one. And those can often switch between your cash and your people. To keep your doors open, to keep food on the table, the lights on. Yeah, cash is number one. But if you've got people, they've got to be number one too. It can be a slippery slope.
How big is the debt issue right now?
Massive. I mean, just looking at what we've got in Canada in our top 6 industries, and we'll break that down into kind of our top 3 industries. Construction is being one of the number one. We're looking at $70 billion in Canada that a month that gets pushed 90 days, or that gets pushed at to a late payment status. Outside of that, $27 billion of it hits 90 days past due. The problem that we run into is the longer people sit on their debt and not take a step to collect, the less likely they are to get paid. I read an interesting article the other day. And it had said that, I'm just going to pull it up real quick. The article had said, and this is published by a collection agency, it has said in here that they estimate, and these percentages have changed, but the longer that you sit on an account, the less likely the account holder is to pay their debt. More specifically, an account that is 90 days past due has a 70% chance, 69.6% chance of it being paid. That's dropped from the original 75 that we were at. So what that's saying is we're actually losing more the longer we wait. From that, after 6 months, the probability of collection drops from 69.6 to 52.1. And once you've reached a year of delinquency, it drops to 22.8%. So a lot of business owners that I talk to when we're talking about their AR, I ask, why haven't you pushed your AR out through the doors? Well, it's for the hopes, or I don't want to hurt the relationship, or they promise to pay me in the future. But look at this, a $10,000 bill after 1 year is worth $2,280. You're losing 77% of the collectability off of that account. For what? If they haven't paid you after 90 days, it's no longer an asset. It's a liability. And the longer you sit on that, the worse it is. I wrote an article that I need to publish, but it's 60 is the new 90. If you're not paid in 60 days, those numbers start dropping extremely quick. So from a business point of view, be proactive, be open, but you have to get intervention, right? And the sooner you get somebody involved, the better off you are. Let's go to the construction space. You wait 6 months. Well, they've already finished that job. They're on to the next job. And now any money that they had isn't being allocated to you. It's being allocated to that new job. Right. So it's, again, just looking at it from that side of things. And the sooner you get a professional involved, I'm going to selflessly plug DebtorX, but the sooner you get a professional involved in helping you collect on those receivables, the higher probability that you are going to have to get paid. don't look at the excuses. Don't fall into the excuses of, oh, well, it's too expensive. 50% of nothing is better than nothing. It's kind of the reality. Or if you don't have time, make it. Cash, again, ultimately is king. If you don't have time to chase your money, get somebody else to chase it for you, right? And if you don't know who to talk to, there's a lot of information out there, but start doing research.
So you just said something important. We're talking about that year number again. So if it's $10,000, chances are I'm only gonna get $2,200 out of that anyway. So if I decide to start chasing that in 45, 60, 90 days, how much of that can I reclaim? So Justin, you owe me 10K. I just did a job for you. Cool. And now it goes to, oh crap, because we're at the end of October when we're shooting this, right? So for anybody that's watching in the future, we're at the end of October in 2021. So I'm going to go forward 47 days. I'm going to go to December 15th. Awesome. It's December 15th. Feeling pretty good about myself. Christmas is coming. Kids are excited. Trees up. I'm having a drink. Life is good. Oh crap. Justin owes me 10K. It's Christmas. Am I going to get the money out of him? How much do I think, or how much is reasonable, or what does the math suggest that I'm likely going to collect out of that first, to take that idea and then move one step further by saying, get somebody to get after it for you. So how much do I think I'm going to get out of that? How much does the expert say I'm going to likely collect out of that 45 days from now?
In that, you're probably about 75%, 75 to 80% collectability, but
I'm going to lose $2,500 by waiting till Christmas.
Yeah. But on that point, to touch on that point, that because of the time of year could actually drop your ability to collect as well. Knowing what your environment is, people tend to, at Christmas time, money tends to drop off. You know, they're going to pay out their Christmas bonuses, or they want to get their kids something, or, you know, they want to buy their spouse something pretty. So there's actually, around that time, you'd even see a little bit more of a drop. So making sure that, again, that you're being very proactive. Mitch does a job for me. I owe him 10 grand. I'm not waiting until December 15th, for him to have that drink in his hand. I'm waiting, for Mitch. I'm going, okay, well, you owed me the money now. I'm calling in a week. I'm picking up the phone. I'm doing that to try to reduce it. And then, come that 45, that day 60, I'm looking to bring somebody into the picture. Right? If I'm in the construction space, I'm filing a lien. Okay, it's a couple extra bucks, but I'm going to do that. Outside of that, I'm going to be very proactive. When is that money coming through? And if we can't come to a solution, if we can't come to an amicable solution that's going to help everybody, then yeah, we do have to bring somebody into the equation. And those understanding, not everybody likes to make collection calls. Not everybody likes to ask for money. It's an uncomfortable thing, So when you get somebody that is their job, that is what they do for a living, they're removing that away from you. And then at this point, now Mitch can move on to the next $10,000 job, $12,000 job, knowing that somebody's handling this for him. So there's a lot more from it, rather than it just being, okay, it's just about the money. It's not just about the money anymore. Now it's about the other elements. I'm not having to worry about chasing this guy down for 10 grand. I can go on to make another $10,000. I can go on to find more business. I can go on to do the other things in my business that are going to help me move to the next stage. So provisions and write-offs are all part of business. It happens to the best of them. But cut your losses, move on, focus on the other stuff, and let the other professionals, handle it. If my car breaks down, there's very little that I know about vehicles. I'm having to bring somebody else into the equation, right? If I get sick, while I might know what some of the symptoms are, I still need to go see a professional to do that. And in those cases, we tend to hire professionals a lot sooner than trying to drag it out. And we'll go back to cash is king. If we're not addressing our cash issues now, and we're trying to wait and wait and wait, how much more important is your business than your car? Or how much more important is your health than, those things? So.
Okay. So we're in it right now. Justin owes me 10K. I'm going to lose 2,500 by Christmas. And I'm going to get on my ass and do something about it right now. Or what does it cost to get the average person to take care of this stuff? I don't mean average, but that is literally Justin's business, or part of the software, of course, that he's built. By the way, use it. It's good for business. Anyway, Yes, that was a shameless plug. That's why Justin's here. It's okay. We can all accept that. Thumbs up. Hey, good job. Justin, what does it cost to get a dude or software and a dude to solve this problem? Because we hate sales, we hate calling strangers, and we hate asking for money. So instead of it going to be a cost of business, I wait now till Christmas. So what you're already telling me is that the likelihood of me even getting $7,500 out of Justin at Christmas is not going to be all that good because it's Christmas as well. So my 10 grand has already been knocked down to 7,500. My 7,500 is going to go even lower. So what does it cost to get somebody else to solve that problem for me?
So outside of using our platform, you can expect to pay anywhere from 18 to 50 or more percent contingency, meaning that the company will only get paid if they collect. On our platform, the way that we've designed it is the sooner you make a decision to move your stuff out, the cheaper it is. So in the first 6 months, our partners that we've partnered with are 20 points. The next 6 months is 25. The following 12 months is 32.5%. And then if you wait 2 years, or if you've previously assigned it or tried to sue it yourself, that commission goes up to 40%. But that's where we top out. So I'll use the example that I would use with a lot of people. $15,000 bill, you wait 12 months. Well, there's some partners out there, there's some agencies out there that as soon as the debt hits 12 months, it's 50%, no exceptions. So let's use that same example. And we're going to say you hire through DebtorX. Ours is 32.5 points. Likelihood of collecting the full 15 grand, not going to happen. You're going to settle for probably 10. So the agency gets $3,250. You get the other 67.50 comes to you. You go out and you hire one of these partners direct. That's going to cost you 50 points. Same deal. You're settling for 10 grand, 5 and 5. Okay, well, 5 grand still better than nothing. But from a business point of view, why would you not want to have more money coming into your business? And second to that point is, how do you know the company you're hiring is the best for you? Have you vetted them? Do you know what questions to ask them to vet? Chances are the answer is no. We had a client who pulled, they were with an agency, and I'm going to be very careful with this. They were with an agency, and the agency
client that had some money with an agency. Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
That's it. And the agency advertises certain elements, and so they figured, hey, they're the best. Well, in 9 months, no money had come through the door. And they had listed about $250,000 in files with them. Not a single dime came through the door. Why? Well, when we went and pulled the phone records, they didn't make a single manual attempt. They used technology to call companies that when reception hears, please hold for it, they hang up. 9 months, nothing in 9 months. Well, as a business, I need to know what's going on with my stuff, right? So, when you're looking at it, if you are going to hire an agency, if you're going to hire a paralegal, ask them questions, properly vet them for what your needs are, and be able to read through the BS. Through DebtorX, we vet our partners. They go through an extensive series of questions. We weight them very heavily on those questions to be able to identify what their key elements are. And at the same time, to be able to identify what they don't want. What they don't want is just as important, if not more important, than what they do want. So with DebtorX, you can expect to spend anywhere from 20 to 40% on a contingency. We've got paralegals that will sue within Alberta for you. You tap out at about $1,750, but that does get paid up front for that side of it. But that runs the entire legal process for up to $50,000 within the province. So it's actually cheaper in a lot of cases to use our platform than it is to go out and hire direct.
Outstanding work. Okay, so I'm going to start a brand new business today, and I'm going to sell pens for a living. But to sell pens for a living, I'm going to sell them to stores, so they're going to buy pens ahead of time. I'm going to sell them in bundles, boxes, 1,000 at a time, and I'm going to go around to all these stores. Well, it's a pandemic; I can't go knock on the door anymore. I'm going to call them. I'm going to type. I'm going to meet them on LinkedIn. I'm going to do whatever else it is. And I'm going to get started going selling pens. Now I got to buy pens from someplace, and I got to sell pens someplace else. So now I'm creating accounts payable. I got to buy the pens over here, but they're going to give me terms. They're going to let me carry. and I got to sell pens over here. I'm going to give them terms and let them carry a little bit too. What is the length of time I need to be watching on both ends of that now if I'm selling stuff, if I'm selling pens for a living, before I get into trouble? How far do we usually go, which is typically too far, while we're waiting on other people's money to pay our bills? And then how long should we really be waiting at that other end as well?
I think that question ties into both sides. If you're being advanced funds and they're giving you terms, you need to make sure that your terms are in place to be able to cover their terms. Because again, if the longer that you're waiting, now all of a sudden you're falling into issues with your vendors, you're falling into issues with the people that have extended you terms to help you grow your business. So if they've got a net 30, you need to make sure that your terms are outside of that. If you start to see that you're in trouble at day 15, day 20, be proactive. Talk to your vendors, talk to the people that you owe money to. People want to know what's going on. The worst thing that you can do, and I think Mitch, you said it at the start, is they put their head in the sand. I've coined it going into ostrich mode. You know, they just, well, we all know it doesn't actually happen, you know, in that fashion, but they throw their head in the sand and hope that nothing hits them in the ass. The problem is when that happens, you lose credibility with your partners, you lose credibility with your vendors. And then here's the other element. People in business talk. It's kind of a surprise, but people in business talk. People in business know each other. So, you know, Mitch knows this business. Not that Mitch is talking about that business, but maybe that business is talking to Mitch and saying, hey, this business is here. Now, all of a sudden that gets out. So what winds up happening is you tarnish your one relationship with the one vendor, and those guys talk. Is that next vendor that you're looking to extend terms from going to be as open to take you on as a client or to extend you the same type of terms? And now you've got a whole different problem that you got to work with. So when you're looking at it, if you know that you've got to pay ABC Corp, you know, $1,000 on the 15th of December, and you've sold your goods and these guys don't want to pay you till the 31st of December, well, you need to be proactive and have that conversation with them, or you need to have your payment terms smaller than what your output is. Your input has to obviously be there. Your DSO has to be there. So your output is able to be met.
All right. So I want to continue to educate people on what's going on right now. What are the biggest 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 bills that most business owners, entrepreneurs, or people are carrying, you know, by category, design, or size, or whatever it is? And secondly, what's one that you are constantly surprised comes up as something that is really kind of haunting us, or being carried forward, something that really shouldn't be there? You're smiling and you're laughing already. You know what I'm asking you right now. What's the stuff that we most commonly carry around? Everybody, we're all going to lie to ourselves and say, we don't do that. Everybody does it. And then what's the one that you're constantly going, really? That's what you pick to not pay? That's what you really pick to, you know, get jammed up over? Okay, fair enough. Let's sort this out.
All right, I'm looking for my book. Here's my notes.
I got notes.
And I'm just going to show you how big this book actually is.
Oh my!
So it's bigger than my head. All right, the things people are carrying. CEBA, the CEBA, or not the CEBA loan, is one that, you know, there's people that are out there. I met with a gal the other day, her and her business partner, and they've got 2 corporations. They took out the CEBA loan on both corps. So they're walking around with $120,000 in guaranteed, you know, money going to the bank. On top of that, it's a lot of frivolous stuff. When we start actually getting into their credit card statements, when we actually start getting into their numbers, it's, I'm going to write this off. I'm going to write this off. I'm going to write this off. And all of a sudden their company credit card is sitting at $25,000, but you're looking at the purchases: liquor store, liquor store, liquor store, liquor store, restaurant, liquor store, weed store. Well, are any of those, maybe the restaurant is for business? Maybe you're buying a gift card for weed. I don't know if you can do that or not. Maybe you're buying gift cards, but there's a lot of frivolous spending that happens in a lot of businesses. The biggest ones the biggest expenses people are carrying are payroll. And if you have brick and mortar, it's your brick and mortar costs. Payroll, look at it. I'm not saying cut people's salaries. I'm not saying do that at all. But, when times are good, are you, still, when times are bad, are you still keeping the same bonus structures? I've worked for companies in the past where business started to suck, and they came down and they sat down with everybody and they said, guys, here's the state of the company. We're asking everybody to take a $2 an hour pay cut, or we're looking to change this part of our benefits. By doing this, this is the cost effectiveness to it. Yeah, you're going to piss some people off. There's going to be some employees that aren't happy about it. But again, it's, do we shut the doors and put everybody out of work, or do we not? And for the business owners, for the ones that are in that position, start with yourselves. Don't start with the bottom. Don't go to the people that are making $17 an hour saying, we're going to drop you to 15. Start with yourself. And you know what? Hey, if you can get by and you don't need that extra $4 or $5 an hour, you can lead with that. Your brick and mortar. Engage your landlords. Talk to them. So you've got some costs that can't be fixed. Your utilities, I mean, we all have to pay them. They can't be, it's hard to push. Talk to your landlord about renegotiating your lease terms. If you're in $25 an hour a square foot right now, or $25 a square foot, and you can get something for 13, have that conversation. I worked with a company at the start of the pandemic. Government, March 15th last year, shut everything down. Their landlord didn't care. You still owe us the money. Well, they rely 100% on door turns. 100% on door terms is their business. What do? You lose 100% of your income and your landlord's still saying you have to pay. Well, they didn't qualify for any of the other subsidies. And there weren't any at that time that really could have benefited them. So, and this isn't a promotion to write out and do this, just disclaimer on that, but we broke their lease. They didn't have a personal liability on it, so we broke their lease. They moved all of their stuff out and we broke their lease. We wound up settling for $4,500 on a $100,000 debt is what we wound up settling for. Beautiful thing is their new location is $10,000 a month cheaper than what their old location was, in a better spot, and it's bigger. So from a business point of view, it was risky because, again, if things happen, we're in a different conversation. But look at it and just talk to them. Most landlords right now, it's not a landlord environment. If you need brick and mortar, you have the ability to negotiate. And my encouragement is do that. Look at those two expenses kind of right off the bat. And if you're spending money on stupid crap, stop. Not going to say the name of the company, but when we were going through their expenses on $1 million, $800,000 restructure, and we're going through their expenses, and we start looking at where some of their money is going. Business gets done at the strip club. Apparently, that's what the mindset was, and they were essentially paying an employee's salary per year at the strip club looking for business. It's amazing what 70 grand going back into your business can do.
Mm-hmm.
So
$1 million business at 7%.
It's a lot of money. So, I think those are kind of the three. That was probably the most shocking to get that answer on was, I dropped this at the strip club. I went, wow, that's crazy. And then, like I said, the other one, honestly, is that Cyndicate loan. I'm in very close communication with bankruptcy trustees, licensed insolvency trustees, talking about the Cyndicate loan and the ability of the government to try and collect, and what the trustees are doing moving forward as these insolvencies are taking place. So if you'd like to talk about that outside of this environment, I'm always open to have that conversation. But that's one that there's businesses you wouldn't think of that would have taken it, but a lot of businesses took it, and some that I don't know if they necessarily needed to. Some of those industries were flourishing, and it just kind of put them in a different spot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you had to codify or summarize the market changing, so what are the new rules now for debt and for financing? That changed entirely. World's moving as well. We've got advent and development in crypto. We've got changing ways that funding and financing can be had. Things are both speeding up and slowing down depending on what way you look at them. The auto industry is getting its ass kicked currently. Just less people are driving less cars. Certain manufacturers didn't produce an entire year worth of a line or a product line inside of their industries. Infinity being an example, right? They didn't produce an entire model for an entire year inside of theirs. So it's really starting to change the way we do this. What would the new rules of finance or money? Somebody starting a business today, what are the things that they should pay best attention to, or what should be the way that they govern how they're dealing with money, dealing with finance, and dealing with debt?
Frugality, be frugal. Just because you're a business owner doesn't mean you have money in the bank. That's going to be one if you're just starting out. Make sure you're putting money aside for your taxes, your GST. Make sure you're putting that stuff aside. That way you're not falling into issues with the CRA. And again, going back, just be proactive. If you see that your clients are not paying you or they're being late, you have to be extremely proactive. It's not, in Alberta, we're not dancing naked on barrels of oil money with champagne anymore. There's a lot more to it, and we have to recognize that this isn't the Alberta of old. This isn't 2013, 2012, where you can make 200 grand if you fail at a business. You've got to look at business moving forward, and you really have to map things out. I think it was Winston Churchill, Ben Franklin, somebody, you don't plan to fail, or if people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan, I think is what it is. And have a business plan, have an idea, set benchmarks. If you're just starting out and you're looking for clients, set the benchmark. What are you going to do for the next 10 days, 20 days, and have measurable, obtainable goals. And then when it comes to the debt side, if you're going to borrow money, make sure you have a plan for it. Put that piece of paper, put the pen to the paper, and make that plan. How are you as a business owner going to repay that debt? How much money do you actually need in your personal ecosystem to support yourself, support your family, do those things? And I don't mean, lavish lifestyle and going to, Mexico all the time or anything along those lines. What I'm talking about is, how much do you need for your household to run? Because if you're not making that money, you're going to start making poor decisions in business. You're just going to start becoming desperate. So you need to obviously ensure that yourself are covered. If you can't afford it, don't do it. I mean, we have to borrow money in a lot of cases to get to the next stage, and that's okay, but have that plan. On the other side, for the debt, if you're owed money, just be proactive. You have to be proactive. Don't put your head in the sand thinking, okay, well, everybody in business is going to pay. Because what happens is you get $135,000 worth of debt, that is owed. You get $250,000, and all of a sudden, because somebody else's struggle with paying their creditors and paying their bills falls on you. And then in turn, you are going to struggle paying your bills. You're going to struggle doing all of it. And it's just a vicious circle, the domino effect. But the more that you're proactive, the more that you're involved, the more that you can leverage, the more technology and tools that you can have at your disposal that you personally can leverage to help get paid, reduces your overall exposure with having to run into issues.
Mm-hmm.
We've developed, and we're putting the finishing touches on a collection toolkit. $50 a month for businesses. You can't get better than that from anywhere, really, for collection tools. And the whole element of this toolkit is to provide business owners the tools that they need to collect, whether that's demand notes, whether that's lien letters, whether that's talking with a professional to get the advice, scripting. We've developed this to help businesses get paid so they don't run into the issues on the long term. If you're in the construction space and you've just started out and you've done some work and people aren't paying you, you got only so much time to file a lien. Some questions that you can ask from the construction space is this project being financed? There's a lot of solopreneurs, guys that might have a 1 or 2 man crew that don't ask that question. And here's the problem. A builder's lien is great. It shows you have an interest in the property. But if they're not financing or they're not looking to sell that house, that builder's lien means nothing unless you intend to follow it through in court. So little things that you can do is look at your contract, maybe ask some people in your industry what their biggest challenges have been on getting paid, and tailor some of your sales and some of your contract to that side of it. I talked with a gentleman this morning. They wrote 38 grand. They did a $38,000 drywall job. Haven't been paid 38 grand. We're at day 39, 40. Company says, we'll pay you in a week. I said, file the lien. Well, why? I said, is the job financed? Oh yeah, it's financed from this company. There's a big sign on the wall that it's financed from these guys. I'm like, okay, well, guess what? At day 45, you can't file that lien. I don't think they've passed the rule yet for 60, but at day 45, you can't file that lien. Get that lien on there. But they promised to pay us in a week. And in a week's time, if you don't have that lien on there, you can't file your lien. You can't lien it anymore. It's just those little things that you can do. And again, it's part of the planning and being proactive up front.
Okay. So lots of heavy lifting, lots of finance, lots of debt, lots of money related stuff. It's simple. Get your crap in order fast to make that happen. Talk a little bit about your platforms. You got to fill it in, because it's geared towards just helping this, because you have to also think differently now in the world that we're in. How much of this goes on right now? And I'm talking about the glowing box instead of face-to-face. Just as an aside for a moment, I've known Justin and his business for well over 2 years now, for quite some period of time. We've been face-to-face for the first time, actually coming on 3 years, brother. Wow, right? First time we've been face-to-face in the last 20 months was when? A week ago. We live in the same city, and the first time we were face-to-face is at 2 different conferences in Vegas a week ago. So business has changed. Tell us a little bit about the stuff you do for people.
Well, I used to do a lot of it manually. I was the one making some of the collection calls, doing the lawsuits. We were doing all of that. The reality is, you can only scale so much doing that. So we developed DebtorX, rather than me sitting on the phone calling collection agencies for my business, for my clients, trying to find out what agency excelled in what and doing a lot of that vetting. And that's where I found out the $250,000 hadn't had a manual pass. But anyways, we built DebtorX to do the heavy lifting for you. DebtorX is integrated with QuickBooks Online, with Xero, with Wave. We're getting integrations with FreshBooks and the other one, Sage. So we're getting integrations with those guys as well. The reality is we match your specific company, your need, with the agencies or the partners that have the highest probability of collection. And we do that through a series of faceted searches, and our faceted searches are weighted because there's certain things that we would put more weight on, like the balance of an account. If I as a company know that my sweet spot is $3,500 to $7,500 accounts in the construction space, and I know that that's my sweet spot, then I want to have that more weighted than just construction. And that's what happens in a lot of these cases. So when we designed DebtorX, it was designed to take the guessing game out of who to hire. It wasn't just a matter of, hey, we've got some people, go in and do this. We vet the agencies. So that you're getting companies that aren't going to be underhanded and that are going to do their best to collect. So that's what we've designed with DebtorX. We're currently we've got coverage in every Canadian province except for Quebec, just due to translation issues right now. But we will eventually expand there. And we're in every US state except for Massachusetts, which could be resolved as soon as next week and have coverage in all of the US states. The whole element behind this, though, is to help businesses get paid. Our collection toolkit, it could be we could sell it for thousands of dollars. But why? Let's do a monthly subscription, keep some extra money in the business, and help you guys, help businesses deal with that stuff up front. QuickBooks is great for their reminders. That's fantastic. But what happens when, you've reached 60 days? What do you say? Well, we've designed all of that. And that's coming over 21 years in the third-party collection industry. That's running, a small claims company. That's managing an attorney network. We're pulling 21 years of experience, and we're putting 21 years into this toolkit for you that allows you to take those steps to ensure that, to reduce your exposure so you can try and, get paid a little bit sooner. And then if you can't get paid, we've got that there to cover you to be able to do that. And guess what? We're working on debt buyers, meaning this is the beautiful part, folks, meaning maybe you just want to cut your losses. Sell the debt for 10, 15 cents on the dollar. Yeah, okay, I know it's less than that 20% number and things like that, but there's factors debt buyers look at. Maybe you've got an underperforming batch of business where, you're owed a couple $100,000 and you'd rather take, $10,000 and just be done with it. We're working on debt buyers to be able to make those offers and be able to buy those debts for you. We're bringing on factoring companies. So if you're in that space where you need to factor your invoices, we're in that space that we will have the organizations that are hopefully the cheapest, but that really are the best in their space, that aren't looking to just leverage that side of it. Law firms, paralegals, we have you covered in a lot of those scenarios. Our lawyers want to charge hourly. You'll know what you're getting paid for. You'll get rough estimates, so you understand what that looks like. Our paralegals, flat fees. So upfront, $1,750 to sue this account, scratch the check, and you move forward. So we've really done all the heavy lifting. It's a one-stop shop for your collection needs. The goal is to expand it into the Australian market, the UK market, and eventually throughout Europe once the translations and what have you take place. I want to kind of lead with this or leave with this on this part of the topic. But in Alberta, there's over 100 registered third-party collection agencies. About 30% of them have a physical, tangible brick and mortar location within the province. That leaves 70 companies across Canada that could be better for your need than what's local. I know we talk shop local and support local. The reality is the best person to help collect your money in the province of Alberta, believe it or not, could be in the province of New Brunswick. Why? Because they might have extensive experience in that industry. They might know what the objections are ahead of time. Yeah, there's going to be some time differences. Yeah, there's going to be some other things that happen. But that person could be the best person to handle your engraving business or your physiotherapy clinic, right? Those are the things that we really look for to help businesses get paid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Justin. Lots of heavy lifting here today, brother. And for everybody that's going to be watching this in the future and is with us right now, of course, it's easy to get a hold of us. You just got to syndicate.org and you got to look for our boy Justin here and his companies, DebtorX or Credom as well, to be able to get in there. Justin, any final thoughts that you need people to really know and understand about what it is that you do, and more importantly, those things that, as we're talking here today, that makes your brain go, shit, I should have said that. There's those moments that always crop up all the time. Final thoughts here before we close out for what is really heavy lifting for businesses and business owners, but it is vital because it has to do with your finances and your cash flow. And if you get that wrong, your business is sunk fast. If you get it right, it's one of the immutable laws of business. It's one of the parts that are musts. If you get your cash flow right, your business can sustain indefinitely and can grow.
I've used this word a lot, but it's being proactive. Plan, be proactive. If you see issues, hire a professional. Those are the things that I think any business needs to look at. Cash obviously is king, and if you're not getting paid, you're not going to be around. There's a lot of vultures out there that will try to string you along because they know you're small. And if they smell blood, they'll go for the jugular. I got advice from a friend of mine in the construction industry a long time ago, and he worked for one of the biggest players in the Alberta market. And he said that every single week, every Monday morning, they would have a roundtable discussion about what they heard in the marketplace. And if one of the people that they owed money to was in trouble, they would just continue to push and push and push because they didn't have to pay them. As soon as that company closes their doors, they're out. $100,000 to your bottom line can go a long way. But for a lot of the small guys out there, $100,000, that's your life. That's whether your business stays open or closed. Hell, $20,000, $10,000 in some cases. There's businesses that are paycheck to paycheck right now. And if you're not getting paid, you're not going to be around for long. So be proactive. Know what your options are if people start going sideways. And don't be afraid to pick up one of these. As business owners, we can hide behind our text messages and our emails as well and think, oh, well, I've done my job. Guess what? Pick one up. It's not a hard thing to do, and it's your money. And if you do struggle with it, get your account assigned out through DebtorX, or somebody else if you want, but DebtorX does it for you. Get it assigned out through DebtorX and get help. So yeah, plan, look, and just be proactive. Those are probably the best words of wisdom I can give anybody getting into business. And I've actually given that to a friend who's starting a trucking company right now. I helped him with his business plan. I've talked to him about his payments. I've talked to him about making sure he's got money in the bank, to sustain himself for the next 6 months, because there's going to be trucking companies that are good, vendors that aren't going to pay him. I've talked to him about making sure that all of that sort of stuff is done before he pulled the trigger. And he landed his first contract last week, almost 13 months in the making. And he finally landed his first contract. And, what are your payment terms was my first question. My second question is, do you have 6 months in the bank to back this in the event that they don't pay you?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think those are it.
Wisdom about money. So Cyndicate, part of its job as well is to bring business owners together, build community, right? Imagine investing, and it's something that we say in our meetings themselves, which are not just networking or mastermind. It's a way to build a business family. Imagine investing the next 12 months with the people that are on this call, in this room, listening right now. What kind of impact you're going to create? What if you spent the next 12 months listening to what Justin had to say? How different would the money in your business be because of it? He, after all, is an expert, and it's part of why we brought him here today. But for all those todays that are going to move forward from here, if you listen to the people that's literal job is to solve this and do what they're suggesting, it's going to get better for you. After all, that's what a Syndicate Talks is for, is to better educate you from the experts in their industry to make you better at your job in your industry. Final thought to that. Go check out DebtorX and Credom. DebtorX, if you carry invoicing, if you have debt yourself, if other people owe you money, it is going to make a difference. You can see the address right here on the screen, and I'm pointing with my finger on my screen where Justin is right now, and you can see there's the address right there. I can almost touch it. It says DebtorX.com. Go do that, sign up, get your stuff in that portal, and make life a little bit easier, a little better, a little smarter, a little faster for you and your business. Get your crap wired. Get the experts to help you out. That's literally what their business, that platform's for. Ask questions, seek advice, and more importantly, take good care of your money. Justin, DebtorX, Credom, absolute genius businesses, absolutely stellar product and services that they're providing. I get the benefit and the privilege of being able to watch from the inside as your business grows. And I am so grateful for that. Justin, thank you so much for coming today and helping solving this problem for people. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, tribe. Justin Thibeault, DebtorX, Credom, part of the Cyndicate family. And this is a Cyndicate Talks, Season 3, Episode 3, DebtorX and Credom. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out the first 2 episodes of Season 3 on YouTube as well. And go back and watch Season 1 and Season 2 of a Cyndicate Talks. We have multiple hours, dozens of hours of content where experts in their field are bringing what they're good at to make you better at your job. In fact, if you're watching over on our sister station, MCC's Virtual Business Box Lunch, it's part of the conversation that we've had very recently, where what we said was, invest in education. What else are you doing in the middle of a pandemic? Watch videos, read books, do other stuff. Today, we brought you a master at debt and finance to be able to make you better at your job in something that where else are you going to learn how to do it except from the absolute experts? So Justin, thank you so much. A Cyndicate Talks, Season 3, Episode 3, in the can, in the bag. Check out the other episodes, check out the other seasons, and watch for the next 6 episodes in this season coming up over the next several weeks. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Mitch Camage. I am your host for a Cyndicate Talks. And of course, we will see you Episode 4 and more coming up very, very soon. It has been a pleasure and a privilege to share with you today. We will see you all next